Live on Facebook.
I love the theme you were just humming. Yay.
Hi.
We are the nerds.
See if anyone is here yet.
Hello, hello, hello. Just pouring my
So if you're here
coffee.
already, what you can do to get started, obviously, is check. Make sure you know where to find your fruit emojis.
Yes, we need lots of them today.
But also say hello. You know how much we love it when you say hello. We don't feel like we're
Oh,
talking to ourselves. I think
I've just
everything's
realized.
working better at my end today, which is super nice.
Okay, I'm just gonna
'Cause
check
it
here.
wasn't last time.
Video, no. Go. Oh no, that was live in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was
Oh
just
no,
me.
here we are. Waving our arms. Excellent.
Yeah, we are here. We've got oh, Barrett, hello. We can always rely on you to be here to talk to
Hi,
us.
Emily.
Emily,
My sound is
yay!
on. How do I turn my sound off?
You can't hear us. Who else was there? No, it was a reaction, not a comment. I was trying to think if I missed a comment, but no, I haven't. Oh dear, oh dear.
Elgit here, Embody.
Super duper duper.
Hey, Monica!
Yes.
Awesome.
It's just like having, it's proper, like we said last time, it's like having your little tribe, your little gang. Although it'd be, I don't think we're cliquey, are we? We're all
Yeah,
good.
we're
More the
definitely not
merrier.
cliquey. We
More the
want,
merrier.
exactly, exactly. So, oh, we didn't talk about, are we doing a thingy today?
I know. Should we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do a little freebie. We need to actually start telling people we're going to do giveaways on the lives. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Alison. Nice to
Hey,
see
guys.
you.
Hi. Good to see you.
Because we keep giving stuff away. Iris, hello. And then
Oh,
not actually
Iris.
telling people we're doing it, which is a bit silly.
That is true. We should probably post the
Yeah.
winners in the Facebook group so everybody can
Yeah, what's
congratulate.
not a...
That would
Hi,
pass.
Katrina. Yeah, we've still got a bit of snow on the ground here. We've had some this morning and some yesterday. It's ridiculous. In the UK, it never snows in November. You're more likely to get snow in May, I think, than November. It's just stupid. So yeah, it's all a bit of a surprise. Our weekly group therapy. Do you know what, LJ? I could not agree more. People that listen, for me and Barbara anyway, people that listen to us non-judgmentally. Hi, Kathleen. Ah, cool. Right, we're all getting warmed up.
Yeah.
So,
Just
as I say, if you want to have a quick, try out those fruit emojis, if you fancy, just so we can give everybody a couple of minutes just to find us, and then you'll be all emojied up. Because, as I say, we've got Barbara here, and we know what she's like with her fruit emoji obsession. I should get her. Who was it? Well, that there was like an opera singer or something who used to wear fruity hats with loads of fruit on, wasn't there? Should
all
get
I
you, Barbara.
oh my goodness. All I can think of is Fruit of the Loom.
Oh, it's pouring in Northern California. It's not what you expect, is it? We've had beautiful blue skies here in the northwest of England, and then pouring in Northern California. The kind of the sort of the classic. What's the word I'm looking for? I've just got no words in my brain today. It's not what you expect. There's fruits everywhere now.
Fruit, excellent. I love it.
LJ's winning in the fruit department so far. You know what? Six fruits. Oh dear. Whereabouts are you, Barrett? I assume Scandinavia somewhere. In which case, you should have way, way, way more than we do here. So that's how weird it is. You're in Norway. Excellent. Never been. Skip the banana, the peach, and the cherries. You'll need the banana today. That's going to
Yeah,
be
you will need
important.
a banana probably.
Yeah. Super. Right. Should we get started? What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's.
Super duper. So I guess what we wanted to talk about here, wasn't it, was when you've got a dog that's reactive, we spend a lot of time beating ourselves up and thinking, it's like I caused it. I've made it happen. What have I done wrong? That's kind of the long and the short of it. And you just feel super duper guilty, don't you? That there's something that you've done right, especially when you get blamey people looking at you like down the noses with their perfect dog that they're very lucky to have. And you feel really judged, don't you? And then you blame yourself, and it's just horrid.
Yeah.
I know I felt like that.
Do you really? I mean, are there lots of blamey people around, or is that just in our heads?
I don't know, and that's the thing. I think there are some, because sometimes people that will make comments where and people say to you, some such and such a person, that said something to me about my dog reacting and blah blah blah. So there's a few, but I don't think it's as many as we think in our own heads. I think most people are probably just feeling really like, oh, you poor thing, and they're really understanding, but it's not how we feel, is it? So I think it's probably more in our heads than we think. So anyway, so what we wanted to say was there's loads of different things that contribute to your dog's reactivity. So could you pop in the comments, if you would, things that you think might contribute to your dog's reactivity, or even any dog's reactivity, but your dog in specifically would be nice. So you can just bob
And quite a few comments. First of all, Mars, so Barrett's in Norway, and Mars says, "Good morning, digging out from 36-hour blizzard." Oh my goodness, Mars, I feel for you. I remember what that's like.
I guess you're probably quite in Saskatchewan. You must get that sort of thing quite a bit.
Mm. And then, does that mean you have no sympathy?
I do have sympathy. Absolutely.
But you're
I
also
do have
jealous
sympathy.
because of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's not like it is here where we're just not set up for snow at all. So everything grinds to a halt with like a flake of snow. You probably would laugh. Anyway, let's.
Last time was in South Africa a few months ago.
Uh-huh.
There was snowstorm and people actually died on the road. They got snow. They couldn't get because nobody's geared for that sort of thing. So
Well,
they were stuck on
exactly.
the road on the way to their summer holiday, and people died of exposure. That's very sad.
It's really sad. Really sad. Anyway.
So Mars is here, so clearly all is good there.
It's all going on as normal.
Yeah. Barrett says it's actually late, but soon enough.
Yeah.
And Ira says, this is on the topic of feeling guilty. If I have learned one thing from the two of you over the months, it's that I must stop doing this, and I have most of the time.
That's such an amazing achievement. And I think if we could give a gift to everybody that was in the group, one thing, it would just be, stop
Taking away the
blaming
guilt.
yourself. Yeah. Because it's not you. Take the guilt away.
Yeah.
That would be really,
Okay.
really nice.
And then Alison says some is in the head, but some is also blamey people.
Agreed. I agree
And
with that.
Katrina said, on the whole, people have been really kind when Freya reacts, putting it down to fear. Only once did someone tut. Okay. Alison has okay, here are now the things that may be contributing. So health, stress stacking, my emotional state, environment, past experience, genetics, and momentary mood.
Yeah.
Emily says other dogs, people that look, act, or smell weird. Who's to know?
Yes.
Yeah. I
I
warn
agree with
people
that.
that she's scared and barks, so usually they don't get blamey. Good. And Barrett's dog is more jumpy and alert in darkness.
Do you know, it's funny you say that, Barrett. Just before we came on, I was saying to Barbara, I took my dogs for a walk just before we came on, and I cut it short because it was getting dark and Dash was just a little bit on edge and jumpy. And I just thought, this isn't going to work now. So we just cut it short and came home. But I did say, and I know that's what that was a good thing to do. I was pleased, and it's what I tell other people to do. But I still had to have a proper word with myself to actually do it. So
Mm.
yeah, that's a really, absolutely, Barrett.
So here's the thing. On the note of cutting short the walk or not walking the dog or something, who feels guilty about not walking the dog? Can you give us an apple if you do? No, a lemon. A lemon if you do, and an apple if you don't.
Is it important that it's a lemon?
Yeah, because lemons are sour. So lemon is if you feel,
Ah,
if you have a sour
understood.
feeling. Okay, Katrina's got more causes. Sleep frustration, confidence, over-arousal in some environments, sense, wind, rain.
Yeah.
And then LG says, I think because of my anxiety, I didn't take Body to public and retail spaces early enough or long enough or something.
Often enough, maybe.
Often, maybe, often. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's why he's not comfortable still in those environments. That's a good one. Actually, that gels with that, that post that Matt did earlier. No, it was a
Yeah.
comment. I think we can maybe talk about that in a short while. And
Yeah,
then,
we'll talk about
uh,
that because it was a really
mm,
interesting post, wasn't it?
yeah, lots of lemons.
Yep.
And Barrett doesn't. That's good. Marion doesn't. Good. And Kathleen, lots of lemons. Yeah,
It's
I
hard,
do
isn't
too,
it? Because
guys. I do too.
intellectually you
But
shouldn't, but you do.
and I can honestly tell you from my own experience that on days where I consciously don't walk the dog and instead make time to do short sessions with them, a bunch of them throughout the day,
Yeah.
right? Of doesn't have to be hectic training, doesn't even have to be physically taxing. Just, whatever it is that we want to play, because we do all our training in the form of games, right? So 5-10 minute sessions several times during the day. The dogs are so tired the end of those
Yeah.
days.
And Katrina's put not anymore. We find alternatives such as ace work training or we rest. That's
Yay!
absolutely spot on. You could tell she's been a rebooter, can't you? She's that good.
Okay, more apples and lemons. And Kathleen says, I took my dog as a puppy to all kinds of places, but once he reached 6 months, it was like a switch went off and he reacted to so many things. That's another one to go with, when we talk about this now.
Yeah, we'll have to, yeah, because that's quite a big one, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So now, can I do another fruit question?
Please do another fruit question.
So I would like to know, because some of you have already mentioned this, but I would like, do you think your dog's reactivity has improved over time? Give us a strawberry if you feel yes, and a coconut for no. So if you feel that your dog's reactivity has improved over the past whatever period, then post a strawberry. If you feel it hasn't, then post a coconut. Yeah, lots of
That's
LG.
really
Yeah, 4
good.
strawberries. I saw your post on the recallers page today, LG. That was great.
A
Iris,
little strawberry.
Allison, Barrett has a little strawberry. Even little strawberries are still strawberries.
Exactly.
Trina, yeah, excellent. This is great. No coconuts. I love it.
Helen's got a strawberry. We haven't said hello to you yet, Helen. Hello. Iris put a comment earlier that she can't take Billy inside shops as he's big on leaving his mark. And Hattie's a nervous peer as well. So you know, if she's not sure of a place or it's somewhere new, I have to be absolutely so careful. So I tend not to do that as well. It just, you know, takes the stress out of it. And also it's not somewhere that she feels comfortable either. So why I don't need to put her in that position really,
That's true. That's true.
you know.
So Emily says a coconut or a fruit. That means I'm not sure. What's the unsure fruit?
Mm.
Maybe a blueberry.
Yeah,
Doesn't know if it's a fruit or a pie.
yeah. And Debbie stopped
mm,
walking her dog for a long time to get a strawberry. And it's one of the hardest things to do, I think, isn't it, Debbie? That to actually take that plunge and allow your dog to have a proper reset. And for some dogs, it can be quite some time that they have to have that little break and that little reset. So yeah, well done you.
Totally.
Kathleen, some improvements in some areas and not others in other triggers. Yep, interesting. And these are all the kind of things it's really worthwhile just keeping a note. You know, if you can journal, and I don't mean you don't. I know it would be great if we all journaled stuff and what was going on with our dogs every single day, and we'd learn so much. And there are some people that do that, and you know, hooray for them. I don't. But if you notice things like that, just note it down with the date because you can start seeing, even if it's not every single day, you can start looking at little patterns and it gives you loads of information about where your dog's at and where you can go next.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really useful.
So Liz says a strawberry, but only when I understood his triggers more, which makes him more comfortable in his surroundings, realized he needs space when on a lead. Yep.
Yes, definitely.
And Ma says our vet suggested a 30-day cortisol vacation. It made a big difference. Yeah.
Like your vet. We like your vet, don't we?
Good vet, yeah.
Definitely.
Kathleen says it helps to set up a spreadsheet and you just take 5 minutes each day for
Yeah, I know I should do that.
Yeah. And then I was wondering, besides the not walking the dog, what other changes have you tried to reduce your dog's stress? Can you just put some suggestions in the comments? Anything that you've done to reduce your dog's stress, and also whether you, yeah, just put them in the comments. Alison says, since joining this group, I have learned to recognize the moment before reaction and I'm managing to head it off through calm removal or reassurance. Oh, that's beautiful. I really like that.
Really nice.
Yeah. All right. What else are you guys doing to reduce your dog's stress? Train or play for a few minutes. Yeah, good one. I like it.
Although it depends what you do, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I'm sure.
Hard.
No, sure. But you know, just
something your dog loves, yeah.
Yeah. I always assume that that's the case. Cool. And then something that's really, really, really important is sleep. Setting up a quiet corner for your dog where they can really have a good sleep.
So Katrina's got more games on walks to get engagement. Whoa, everyone put them in all at the same time. Work on prey drive with wildlife, more off lead in safe fields. LJ's loving the daily journals and to unload at the end of the day, really good. And celebrate wins because it's that natural negative bias, isn't there? We need to be really, really stress to ourselves the good stuff because otherwise we just focus on the bad, which is
Kathleen has a bunch of things. Playing music inside to block out outside noises. I love that. Walking at night when there are no large vehicles. Teaching a look cue to get his attention before the trigger arrives, and then treat. Throw a treat party on the ground right before the trigger passes. Okay.
Alison's got avoiding the situation, definitely. Earning my dog's
Yeah.
trust. Trying to keep her calm, reassurance, touch and voice. Emily's still working to get to know each other. Nose work every day to build her confidence. And actually, sniffing is one of the three naturally calming, well, there are a few naturally calming things, but the three main naturally calming things that our dogs do to calm themselves down. Also, one of them sniffing, the other two are chewing and licking. So, opportunities like a really nice natural chew. Just sit for 20 minutes and proper, and it tires them out as well. Or things
Yeah.
like, your tupples, your kongs, your lick mats, those kind of things that encourage licking as well. They're really, really good just to help them wind down. And you might notice with your dog sometimes, if they're trying to self-soothe, they might start licking your hand or that kind of thing. So some dogs do kind of naturally try and go to those things to help calm themselves down when they've got their knickers in a bit of a knot, as we say over here.
So I'm going to go back now. Kathleen says booking sniff spot is a wonderful way to give your dog a break from triggers.
Those are the private hire fields, aren't they? In North America. Yeah, we have those there. They're just all sorts of different private people, but they're really great.
Trina says they do lots of scent work on walks, hiding stuff in trees. LG says giving Bodhi space, time and choices to build his confidence. That's working. Debbie says if there's a lot of activity going on, I make the walk short and positive. Love it. Iris says we do a lot of games now. I also learn not to go to places where he overreacts and or turn off into another direction if he looks like he's getting nervous. Great, Mobile.
Absolutely.
Barrett says contact games. On walks, try to do some repeats early. If something happens, she's more in game training mode. I love playing games on walks. It's a great Barrett. Yeah. And then I really love this one from Mars. Keep the walks short and really listen to Oki. Previously, I thought we could push through and it only made it worse. Yeah. Totally. Okay, cool. So, and then Emily says she loves puzzles. Yeah. So the thing is, I mean, like, it's always there's lots of things that contribute to reactivity, and we'll talk about some of it in a moment. But when the push comes to shove, it doesn't really matter what it is, right? Because we have to deal with the dog in front of us.
Yeah.
Don't you think so? I mean,
100%.
I mean, we do
100%.
need to know what triggers them, and knowing what triggers them is more, as you guys all know, is more than just knowing, okay, my dog reacts to other dogs or big dogs or whatnot. There's, all sorts of other things that contribute. We've talked about the bucket. Julia has done the drawing, right? We know that there's, other contributing factors, and we need to really understand what goes on. But in the end, we have to, where it comes from, why it is, what trauma the dog went through. This is the difference to, I mean, for us humans, we have to work through this stuff in our heads, whereas, because there's a lot of thought involved. And I think our dogs are just like instantly reacting. I mean, look, this is just off the top of my head. I wouldn't know. I would have to ask Andy Hale about this, I think. But the thing is, ultimately,
we've seen him at the
we
weekend.
don't know. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, exactly.
I know.
But the thing is, we never know what they're thinking. So we can only listen to what they're presenting us with their behavior, and then address that, right, properly. So we shouldn't, even if we know that we did something, like when I was super foolish and allowed my puppy, when now I was a puppy and I took him and he was really not handled well at the vet, and I let that all happen under my eyes because I didn't know any better, and it's gracious, it's the vet,
So you trust them, don't you?
Yeah, so even if you know, so what? Because first of all, blame whether you blame yourself or somebody else, that doesn't help anybody and it doesn't help the dog. And it doesn't change what you've got to do to help the dog go through it, get through it.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I think sometimes if you worry so much about the why, you can make some assumptions, and you tend to kind of label your dog. This is what my dog
Mm.
is like. This is what my dog does.
Mm.
Whereas the reality is that dogs are similar to us. They will have good days, they will have bad days, they will get better, they will get worse again. There will be other experiences, some of which we won't know about that happen to them that's going to impact on how they're behaving. And as Barbara said, it's looking at what you have in the moment in front of you, and that's what you're working with,
Yeah.
rather than making loads of assumptions about what you think you've got, which I think is quite hard to do, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So shall we have a look at that comment that was left? So there were no questions, guys, but if you have any question that you would like us to chat about today, then pop it in the comments now. But we didn't see any in the group posted. If you did and we didn't see it, then post it now. And if you're watching this on the replay, and you say, "Darn, they didn't reply to my question," then let us know. And you guys know when we put the announcement in, I mean, you can ask questions anywhere, everywhere. We try to pick up everything, but the easiest way for us to know that you want us to talk about a particular thing or consider one of your questions is if you put it in the comment to the post that announces the next live.
Yeah, because
Right?
that's where we tend to go to look for them
Yeah.
first.
Or just make it a big fat post. Question.
Yeah, so we can't miss it.
Right?
Monica's got a question, Barbara.
Oh, cool.
So Monica's asked, is it important to have the same routine? I feel guilty of not having a routine set up for my dogs. It's different every day. That's such a good question. I like it very much.
It is a really good question.
I
So
suppose the answer is yes and no. Not helping at all, am I?
so here's the thing. So the dogs love routines and they are very good at predicting.
Mhm.
So a routine can help the dog feel safe, absolutely. And it mostly, though, it makes your life easier with your dog. And I'm pretty sure that even though your life is very different each day, there are ways that you can create some routine for your dogs. Now, the other side of the routine thing is it's super, super, super cool not to have a preset routine every day because that means your dogs can't second guess you. Is that the word? Second guess you?
Yeah, totally.
Like, no, okay, here we have another fruit question. Let's just put in the chat, give me a pineapple if your dog knows when it's time for their walk or whatever it is that you do, exercise time, and they let you know. Give us a pineapple. And give us a lychee. Not even sure if that exists.
Lychee. Although, do they have lychees on? What about cherries?
Okay, give us a cherry. If no, your dog is always chilled and doesn't ever.
Yeah.
But I think we'll have lots of. Yeah, here we go. Here come the pineapples. Here come the pineapples. There we go. Here's another question. Who gets woken up in the morning? Right? Because the dog wants to go out for their breakfast. Again, pineapples. And give us a cherry if your dog lets you sleep in.
Yeah.
Oh, we got some cherries. That's good. And Katrina says the pineapple, even though it's not the same every day.
She just decides it is now walk time today. Do you know, it's funny
Yeah, we
because
got.
I've just started working with a lovely lady who's got a new rescue dog that's come over from somewhere or other. Can't remember. Anyway, and he is Mr. Super Predictor dog. And that's one of the big issues because she was told by the rescue to have, make the dog feel secure, to have a nice routine. Totally, yeah, to make him feel safe,
Yep.
fine. But now she's got to the stage where if he doesn't get the walk at that time, he will have an enormous tantrum. So she wants to give him a cortisol holiday, but then he's having these tantrums. So we're working through alternatives and how to deal with that. And that's because, as Barbara said, that's how dogs learn. It's their greatest superpower is their ability to predict because it's how we teach them stuff. But it's also how they teach themselves things that we don't necessarily want.
Yeah.
So, having a little bit of variability can
Yeah.
be very useful, can't
So
it?
you want exactly you
You
want a
want a
super.
framework, but variability within that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And Katrina says food is much more the routine. Well, okay, similar thing. I could have
Mm.
chosen that. So Susan Gary called it predictably unpredictable. You want to be
Yeah, I love that.
predictable. So certain things are really good to have a routine for. But it doesn't mean that you always do things at a certain time. It could just mean that you do things in a certain way or always after a particular other thing, right? Just think about that. I mean, we all have a particular routine in the morning. We fall out of bed, we go to the bathroom, and maybe you can tie certain things with your dogs to that, or you can oftentimes meal times are a good thing, always do it before dinner or after lunch or whatever it is that you want to do. But you do not have to walk them every day at the same time. You do not have to feed them every day at the same time. As long as they do get fed and you don't, sometimes feed them at 5 o'clock and sometimes at 10 o'clock. I mean, they do get terribly hungry. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure you can figure something out, and your dogs will let you know too. So you don't need to feel guilty about something that might not even be a thing with your dogs.
Absolutely. Right, just going to go back up because Alison asked a question as well.
Great.
So here we go. Alison wants help with T reacting to people moving off after they've had a conversation with me and my husband. She also sometimes does this when my husband moves throughout the house. Yeah, I always and it's quite a common thing, isn't it? Dogs reacting when something's leaving. And I always think of it as it's like that bloke at the pub that once this is probably a British thing again. Once everyone's walked away from the fight, then he wants to have the last word. And it's like, I'm safe now because they're already going, but I'm gonna tell you how I feel now, kind of thing. So yeah, it is quite a common thing. I mean, what would you do about that situation?
Well, I'm just trying to think through it. I like that. I never thought of it that way. And I'm just thinking, I noticed with my dogs, it's not so much after a conversation that people walk away, but that sometimes if we encounter people on the walk, the dogs will go like, oh, be all good, right? Oh, there's people. And then as we get past, they turn and they want to kind of follow them.
Mm.
And I think that depending how concerned the dog is and who the people are, this could, not that my dogs go around nipping people, but with some dogs, that could be a nip. Right? Or
It might be sort of a bit of a herding thing as well with some dogs, but your border collie types,
yeah.
you know.
So I think if, given what you just said, I
Mm.
think what you then have to do is make sure that the entire encounter is extremely positive. Because the description that you just gave implies that the dog is actually uncomfortable and waits for that safe moment to have the last word.
I mean, it could be uncomfortable, it could be frustrated, couldn't it? For,
It's
whether
still
it's,
uncomfortable, yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's uncomfortable
Yeah.
for whatever reason, isn't it, really?
Yeah,
And
they
then
want to
it's
talk to
kind
the
of,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
then
you
there's
don't
kind
let
of a
them.
bit of a pressure release, and it's like, right, now I'm
Yeah.
going to say
Yeah.
something.
So you have to watch the dog in the situation. So you stop to chat with people. How is your dog then? That would be the first thing, right? Are they totally cool, gazing around? Are they just sniffing? Oh, mom stopped. I can sniff now. Or are they quite excited or worried because there's people in and want to get to them, and you the whole time trying to manage them so they don't get too close? And if you have that, any kind of the dog is not totally chilled in that scenario, then we would have to work on that first.
Yeah.
No? So I think what I would do is break it down. So we're stopping in the middle of the walk. We're stopping and talking to people in a distance. We're stopping to talk at a tree. We stop and tie our shoe, all those things. And each time we do this, we reward the dog. And then when we actually do talk to people, we keep a distance where the dog, it might just take a while before you can be really close to the people. A distance where the dog can actually hang out next to you and eat treats.
Yeah. And just kind of
And
chill
keep
a little bit.
really, really chill. Yeah.
Mm.
And in the home, with the husband moving through the house, same thing. You've got to analyze, when does it happen, when does it not happen, and what's the thing before.
I mean, with moving through the house, I know that some dogs find certain people going through doorways and things like that quite difficult. Dash is a little bit like that. He doesn't care what I do, but if someone like comes into a room, particularly if they hang around in a doorway, he finds that really, really hard. It's that kind of transition and transition areas. So yeah, hanging around in doorways can be a bit of a trigger for some dogs, that they find really difficult. I've definitely come across before. So that's
have
one to just look
think
at.
about that, Alison, and then give it a good think, and then first check how comfortable the dog is, and then talk it over with your husband, body language. You got all those tools, and then come up with a plan to break it down.
Yeah. And do feel free to post things in the group with, what you've done and where your progress is, and we can comment on that. That would be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, should we have a look at Matt's comment? Because it was
that was really
kind of
thought-provoking.
related.
We should probably have. And if you do want, no, so maybe we do another. Okay, hang on. Looking for the thing. Okay. Oh yeah. So it was, is it Matt Tyso? Is that how you
That's
say it?
right, yeah.
So it was, and he commented a little bit later again, but along the same thing. So it's all about the causes, for your dog's reactivity, and the one that he took was repeated negative encounters, and that the lack of socialization from the lockdown puppies has made them quite reactive. But the problem is, with so many reactive dogs around, my dog as a pup had a lot of bad experiences with those dogs when they got a bit older. Now I have a reactive dog. I think the lockdown effect has been quite infectious, passing on to newer generations. And we picked that out simply because there is a lot of food for thought, I think, in that comment. It's a really interesting observation.
Yeah.
So quick question, guys. Lockdown. Any of you got a dog that you couldn't socialize, or any of you had a new dog or a puppy during the lockdown? If yes, give us what's a nice positive fruit? A bunch of grapes. And if no, then
I love that a bunch of grapes is a positive fruit, Barbara.
why not? Yeah, but you don't have to say anything if you didn't. It's just a fact, you know. You either had a new dog during the lockdown or you didn't, so don't worry about it. I would just like to know if any of you had a new dog during lockdown, and maybe it is not a fruit question, maybe it's more a question. If there is somebody on here, was it difficult for you to socialize the dog?
So Andrea's
Oh,
written
we have grapes.
Marion's got grapes.
Excellent.
Fantastic. So you're lockdown puppy people.
Okay, so what did you do to socialize your dogs?
So Frey had been rescued now too. Because I think rescuing, rescue dogs during lockdown is relevant as well, really, isn't it?
Mm. She had 2 foster homes during lockdown, yeah.
Yeah. It's tough.
Another foster dog. Oh, no, lockdown dog. Okay, guys, so what did you do about, was it super challenging?
LJ,
LG.
you do struggle to get out into the world.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I can understand that.
totally. You know, my mum had a whole, it must have been over a decade. My mum didn't leave the house at all, ever.
Oh my goodness me.
Mm. So,
Isn't it tough?
yeah. Anyway. Okay. Don't see any.
See, I've got quite a lot of opinions on socialization, as you probably imagine.
Ah, here we are. Anja says socializing was difficult because in our jurisdiction you were not permitted to have people come over. I can see
Exactly.
that is problematic to get the
Yeah.
dog used to that. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, let's quickly talk about it then.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, I totally sympathize with Matt in that I'm pretty sure that there's been an increase in behavior problems due to lockdown.
Absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever, is there? That we see. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt at all.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that, I mean, people did try. I mean, we know, our colleagues, lots of people try to get the word around about, how to help our dogs and how to help new dogs and new puppies, because lots of families got puppies in that time once they were at home, right? But I think there was also a strong focus on anxiety about, dogs being left alone afterwards and things like that. I don't know if that many people talked about the potential for reactivity. But here's the thing. Whether or not the dogs around you are reactive, I can see how that can make it a little bit more difficult for you. But actually it should not really affect us and our dogs, because we always have to be really careful how we take them out, where we take them in the world, and what encounters the dogs have, right? And while maybe when our puppies are young, we can get close to, if they have nice, they have that kind of temperament, we can get close to stuff. We shouldn't take them close to other dogs, right? And if other dogs need a football field and those people are silly enough to take them places where the dogs get triggered, then that's definitely not a place where I would take my puppy.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's quite a lot to this, really. And for me, I think part of the issue is that people get a puppy and they think, right, I need to socialize them. I need them to meet all the dogs. And of course, they couldn't do that under lockdown. But the reality is that socialization is a much bigger thing than that. It's not just about meeting lots of dogs. It's
Mm.
about being comfortable when there are dogs, people, trains, whatever, horses in the, in the vicinity, and for them still to feel comfortable and feel confident.
Yeah,
And
and
if
I really want that. Susan always calls it gray noise or white noise or gray noise.
yeah,
It's always part of the environment and it's not a thread. And the thing is, even if everything is 100%, so and if Matt listens to this, I wasn't trying to say it's your fault or
oh goodness,
you
no.
did things wrong. That was that if that it, I know that could have sounded like that. That wasn't at all what I meant. What I was trying to say was, and it can become really hard if all the dogs start barking and yet there's nowhere you can go and there aren't any barking dogs, because that can increase. But just as an example, my youngster, Falky, he came as a highly strung puppy, very noise sensitive. And I see the difference now between him and Stevie. She arrives completely the same neighborhood, right? And Falky very early started barking whenever he heard other dogs in our neighborhood. The neighbors, everybody's got rules around their property, so you don't get to see the dogs. Well, it's probably good, but and it's taken me. I mean, he's almost 2 now, and it's taken me all this time, to get him to work through this with Falcon, because he just came really sensitive to that sort of stuff. Right, for him not to flip his whatever he flips thing. And Stevie is like, whatever,
Mm.
she's not
Oh,
fussed.
interesting.
So every dog is different. And I've got to deal with it because all these dogs bark a lot. Somebody goes down our street, those dogs will be at their gates and they will be barking. So it happens all the time. I have no control over that. So I have to get my dog to understand that it's not a problem. You're still safe. Don't worry about it. But I also can't, because it's the neighborhood and because it's the dogs that are on the boundary properties, it's not an easy task. It's very
No, not at all.
difficult to manage.
Mm.
Not impossible though.
And I think that the reality is with dogs and puppies and socialization, as I say, we've got this kind of thing that means playing with lots of dogs, maybe going to group classes. However, if you have a puppy that struggles in these sorts of situations, actually, you're going to just doing those things is going to make things an awful lot worse. So, group classes, particularly, and any kind of free play can actually cause more harm than good with a lot of dogs and with a lot of puppies. Any sort of interactions with other dogs as puppies, you want them to be really controlled and make sure that all the dogs involved are very happy with what's happening and the owners are responsible. So many bad experiences happen to little puppies because they've gone to a socialization event, which has just basically meant they all running around together. And you get quite a lot of dogs actually that find that sort of environment really, really difficult and can actually make them worse. The other thing that I think that definitely happened in lockdown is the price of puppies went through the roof. There were some breeds that quadrupled in price. You ended up getting, because there was such a massive demand, because everyone's like, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to get a puppy. It's going to be great. I'm at home. But of course, then that meant that there was more puppies being produced by people that weren't necessarily as knowledgeable or as ethical about breeding. And therefore, you ended up with dogs being bred from, well, I mean, you end up with this anyway, to be perfectly honest, but they were bred with, from dogs with bad temperaments, with health issues, with all those other things that we also know really feeds into that kind of reactivity and behavioral problems. And for me, from what I've seen, that from my own experience and what I've seen, that is a worse problem. Is having these badly bred dogs, particularly the kind of trendy breeds that were, everyone wanted over sort of 2020 and 21.
That's interesting.
Massive
Yeah.
issues, yeah.
So, Katrina made an interesting point.
She did, didn't she?
Uh,
I was just
yeah.
gonna saw that one. Really good.
How much does ethology contribute to our dog's behavior? We've bred various traits for our own purposes, but now our world no longer requires these, and this has changed dramatically over the past few decades, and our dogs are struggling to adapt. We're also developing new crossbreeds. For what purpose? That's also what you were referring to, right? Been
Well,
listening to
partially,
Kim
yeah,
Brophy.
yeah. And
Yeah, I
it's
like the
it's
designer
such
of.
a great point, though, isn't it? I mean, it's another thing that I sort of bang on about sometimes is that with there's more individual variability for dogs than there is between breeds. So, that individual variability has the biggest impact on what the dog's like. Having said that, there is also, when we've bred for hundreds, thousands of years for particular characteristics, in terms of behavior, like, border collies, perfect example. They've been bred to see movement. And then, so we tend to get lots of movement reactive border collies. Of course we do, because that's what we've told them to do. They need to be able to focus and not lose their focus on the thing over there that's moving or the thing over there that's different. And you're absolutely right. And that's kind of like a hardwired. It's not going to be, as I say, there's always individual variation, but you do get this kind of hardwiring in some of your breeds, exactly as you've said. And then with the crossbreeding, classic example in my view would be a cockapoo. There's lots of these crossbreeds, and there's some absolutely fabulous dogs out there, don't get me wrong. But a cockapoo, you've got a cross between a cocker spaniel and a poodle. So you've got two dogs that have been bred to work. Yeah, and two working dogs, two different breeds of high drive dogs. You've got a hunting dog, and you've got your spaniel that goes and flushes out things when they're sort of hunting, but not quite the same as the poodly hunting instinct. But they've been bred very much for the pet market. So you then have people who are thinking, right, I want this dog because I want a hypoallergenic dog, which it may or may not be. But without really thinking and realizing that, these are going to be challenging, intelligent dogs that are going to want to have stuff to do and are going to need to have things to do with their brains and are going to want to go over there and hunt stuff and are going to want to be quite clingy with you. And there's all sorts of stuff that might be going on with them. So yeah, I don't think we always consider the implication and what we might be getting, because we don't know with crossbreeds what the genetics are. It's
Yeah,
a really interesting point.
totally. Totally.
Yeah. So I could tell you were listening to Kim Brophy as well, Katrina. I love listening to
Yeah.
her. She's great.
Monica makes a really important point here, that it's very important to socialize and understand the changes in behavior during the adolescent period.
So,
And that's so true, because there's such a focus on the first few weeks, and then oftentimes people think, okay, I've done that, all is good, or it becomes harder as the dogs grow and go through the different periods, and then they sorry, I'm being distracted. And then you forget, or you might just stop because it's becoming harder, because suddenly the dog is reacting to stuff. So adolescent dogs can be
and you've got a little bag of
whole other
hormones in
challenge.
adolescence. They go through a fear period.
Yeah.
They push the boundaries like adolescent humans. If you go down to a shelter, dog shelter, the dogs that have been given up, You know, the majority of them will have been given up between sort of about 6 months, 2.5 years during that adolescent period, because it's so you've got to properly pick your battles at that point, haven't you? You know.
Okay, we have another question from Mars. We can try quickly, and then I think we need to
Yes, we probably
call
do.
it a night. So Mars says, I have a question. We were taking group classes last winter. We did several months. Oki did well and loved it, especially the scent work. With the last set of classes, a new dog joined who was very reactive, constant barking and jumping about. Oki got very reactive and we had to leave the class. Now I'm scared to try classes again. Should I try taking him back into the class environment?
That's a great question. And as I said, classes aren't right for a lot of dogs, particularly reactive dogs. You can have success, like you've said, because you're taking your dog to the same environment. If it's managed well, you've got the same environment, the same setup, and the same dogs, and that combination is working for your dog. And then what's happened when this new dog comes in, there's two things have happened. Firstly, that nice safe space with these nice safe dogs has changed, and something's changed in that. There's novelty in there, and Oki's found that really difficult. And the second thing that may have happened is, that has happened is that dog was particularly vocal. So, you know, Oki's kind of getting his defense in first, kind of thing. So it kind of, as I say, I don't think all classes work for all dogs. I think there are some dogs that find it really difficult. Whenever I've run classes, I've always had options for dogs to be kept separate if they need to be, so they don't have to be with other dogs, but that doesn't always happen. And it can be super duper stressful. And the, you know, classes are lovely to do if you get a good one with a good instructor. So for example, classic example would be a scent work class, wouldn't it, really? And if you've got a reactive dog, when your dog's not actually doing the scenting, could they perhaps be in a covered crate, in the car, whatever, depending what's appropriate and what's going to be safe for them at the time. And then you bring them out so that they don't have that stressful situation when they're not working. When they're working, there could be other dogs at a distance, and that could work quite well for the individual dog, but it's such an individual thing.
I would definitely keep wanting to go to class, Mars. I think that I'm not saying go, sign up and just plunge in, you know, start and finish, but I think it's definitely a really great goal to have. I would either go back to that same class if you otherwise enjoyed it and speak to them. Maybe you can sit in, see who's there now. Is that vocal dog still there? Are there all other? And then maybe speak to the instructor and say, can we make some accommodations?
That's the
Most
key, to have a plan, isn't it? As to we
yeah.
know what we're going to do if.
And most instructors will. And if they
Mhm.
don't, then
Yeah.
it might not be the right place. Or then it's definitely not the right place for you, right? So I would look around a little bit.
Mm.
And then the other thing is for a dog that has, and that if you find that it's too much pressure for him right now, is to look at what's the goal? Is the goal that you want to work on a particular skill or towards a particular sport, like with the scent work? There are online options. So you could get started with it, with the learning at home, where, you know, which is great because you're relaxed, your dog's relaxed, they learn the basics. And then when you feel, okay, good, we've got some nice foundations. Now you go into class, your dog is less confused. It's not new skills, new environment, strange dogs, other people. It's not all those things. They're already, but they know the job, right? So that can be one way of going. So then you're only going to the class because now you want to be somewhere where you are with other dogs. I did when now I was a youngster, I took him to scent class. I didn't know the first thing about scenting. I wasn't necessarily particularly keen. I was just looking for because they're normally quiet classes. opposed to agility or flyball or something. And because I was mostly training on my own or somewhere where there was a joint space, but it wasn't in the class, I wanted him to have the experience of being in a group environment with other dogs, that hang out. And I picked the scent class and then discovered that it was a huge amount of fun and he loved it.
And actually, if you've got a reactive dog, a scent class is a really good choice. If you're going to choose anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would definitely aim for it and just go and do some research, what's available in your area, and speak to the people. Maybe go see if you can observe a class, and then find out where would the staging area be? Do they all have to stand around with the dogs on leads or on a chair or whatever? Can you bring other things? Can he wait in the car until it's his turn? Whatever would work for you and him.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant.
Cool.
Coolio.
Emily's dog Sophie was on the streets for her first 3 years and has a big scar and a lopsided ear and lots of fears. Wow.
Yeah, mine too. Well, as you probably know, ex-street dogs too. And they've got all sorts of wonkiness, full of wonkiness and scars and stuff. And you can tell, and it does, it's a very different dog owning experience when you've got a dog with that kind of background. 100%.
Marian says, I think I over-socialite our rescue as we live near the beach and everyone would meet with dogs, people at a distance, but not the dogs. Yeah.
Yes.
And you see it and you think, oh, it would be so nice, right? But it's not always the best.
No.
Not always the best for the dogs. Yeah.
Right. Well, we're changing the time from next week just a half an hour earlier.
So that we
Just
can
so that
stop
you
before
know.
my bedtime.
Yeah, so that Barbara can get to bed without getting too grumpy.
I hope that's cool. So we'll
I hope you can
let
still
you
make
know.
it. Yeah, so just be half an hour earlier going forward. So
Yeah, but we'll put a note in the thing.
yeah, 100%.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for always rocking up. You guys are awesome. You really are.
Yes,
I'll see you again.
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we will see you all next week.
Yes. Cool. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Hang on if you got